Welcome to Uncharted Paths, the podcast about the unexpected turns our careers take and the growth we find along the way. I'm Greg McDonald, and I work with leaders and teams as they navigate change and transformation. Today's guest is Lindsay Hoffman. She began her career in accounting, but quickly pivoted into client-facing roles at several emerging tech companies within the online marketing industry. From there, she spent over a decade at Yahoo managing high-profile advertising technology partnerships with companies like Microsoft, Google, and Disney. More recently, Lindsay made another interesting leap, this time into the world of influencer marketing and casino gaming. She's now Vice President of Corporate Development at BC Ventures, the award-winning company founded by Brian Christopher of Brian Christopher Slots, who is the leading influencer in the space. At BC Ventures, Lindsay is helping scale the business and expand how brands connect with fans through content, community, and live experiences. Her story is a great reminder that reinvention doesn't always mean starting over. Sometimes it means bringing everything you've learned into a brand new arena. So Lindsay, thanks so much for joining. Really excited to have you here.
You're welcome. Thank you. Glad to be here.
So let's start with just a little bit of an introduction about yourself. How do you introduce yourself at a dinner party?
It's a great question. Depends on the audience, but usually I'll say that I lead corporate development for BC Ventures, which really means all of our BD, partner management team, sponsorship sales, doing all of our contracts and negotiation. And in the gaming space, it also means doing gaming licensing and compliance across all of the iGaming states as well.
Oh, wow.
You described Brian well. I usually have to explain to someone, well, BC Ventures is based on a famous slot player named Brian Christopher. And if you're not in the slot gaming world, people might not know who he is. So I'll just say that it's a YouTube channel that has 2 million subscribers, which is crazy, and 8 million monthly unique viewers to give an idea of the scale. And he's also a brand ambassador for BetMGM and Carnival Cruise Line and other big international brands.
Okay, so it's a massive, massive space. Is this the kind of work you thought you would end up in? Or what was your plan?
No, not at all. In the business world, maybe, but leading corporate development and working in the gaming industry, not something that I had on my bingo card for my career. But it's interesting because now, 25 years later into my career, it's cool to see that it does feel like a sort of a full circle moment. And this piece of my career does feel like a culmination of all the other jobs I had along the way and all the other experiences and things that I learned along those years. So it actually feels really good to be here at this point.
So that's a good segue into your career journey. Tell us how that all came together and how it started. Maybe just walk us through your career journey from where it began until now.
Yeah. When you asked me to do this, I had to think back. It's been a couple decades. I genuinely did start working when I was 15. I had all kinds of jobs as a teenager, but in college, my first real office job was, I say this, I go this far back because it's like the genesis of my whole career was in college. I went to Santa Clara University. It's a fancy liberal arts school here in California. And I went there with no family money to pay for that. So all on scholarships and financial aid. So we spent a lot of time that first week on campus, the financial aid office, filling out forms, trying to get loans and scholarships to pay for school. And the smartest thing my dad ever did was force me to take a work study job in the financial aid office. It was brilliant because I wanted to be an art major. I worked at the museum while I was working through school, but I also worked in the financial aid office, working for the loan officer who processed all of the loans and all of the scholarships for the students, which became kind of a life-changing opportunity where I had a manager say every time a new scholarship came in and he knew I was a need-based work study student, would put it on my desk and say, fill out this paperwork. I've started it for you. You know, I was a kid, and he would just say, here's a new scholarship I think you might qualify for. So that very first job really led to the rest of my career because junior year, I had a private scholarship for students with one parent. My mom had passed away when I was in high school, and I got to go to this luncheon with a couple kids, meet the financer, the benefactor, Sal Gutierrez. I'll never forget his name. He came to the school, met his students he'd given the scholarship to, and he was a VC banker here in Silicon Valley. And he said, if any of you need anything as you head towards senior year, here's my card, give me a call. I'm going to have to guess I was probably the only 21-year-old kid who did give him a call. And I said, yes, I need help. I have work study jobs. They don't pay anything and they only pay for on campus. Do you know anyone who's hiring? where I could get an internship, some sort of off-campus job for senior year. And I'd worked really hard to free up 2 days a week, actually, senior year, so that I could get a real job. 2001, 2002 in Silicon Valley, it was a brutal time to be graduating. It was the first tech bubble bust that shook the area, and living in Santa Clara with all my roommates, 6 of us in a house, everyone was scrambling to try to get a job and figure out what to do when we graduated. So I was extremely lucky. Mr. Gutierrez did make a phone call for me. He called the CEO of Quinn Street, Doug Valenti, which is a company that's still around today. And he said, "Hey, I got this college kid, needs a job. Do you have anything?" Which, like, anything at all. All they had was a summer internship in accounting, doing loan documentation. It was glamorous. I photocopied papers and put them in binders all summer. But I think it paid $12 an hour. Very exciting. But that was the first opportunity. It led to this marketing startup. I don't know if you know of Quinn Street, but it's still a very successful online marketing company. They did CPA lead acquisition back then and kind of were a leader in the industry. And that summer internship led to the next 6 years of my early career working at Quinn Street in this marketing company, learning all the different departments. We grew from maybe 60 people to 500 people by the time I left.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was a huge, like, small stage startup with VC funding and backing, hence the loan documentation that I was working on. And then they grew into a really, really big company, eventually went public. But I was there for 6 years. I did 3 or 4 years in accounting, just because that was the spot and that was the opportunity I was given. It was not necessarily what I ever planned to do, but it was such a good education and something I didn't study. I had a degree in art history and painting. Not really something that was going to get me a lucrative career. So learning how to use spreadsheets, learning about financial models and a balance sheet, all things I really needed to learn that I didn't study in college. And then I eventually sort of asked for a different role in the media team and moved into copywriting. We were doing marketing website rewrites and redevelopments, and we would reskin them and rewrite them. I started writing newsletters and really kind of exploring that path of being a copy editor and hiring writers. And that was a really fun, more creative role that I really enjoyed. And then after about 6 years, I thought, I was young. I wanted to push myself to do something new, try something new, jump out of the nest of the company I'd been at since college. So started going to various startups. I went to a really, really small 4-person startup in San Francisco that was based on my copywriting career thus far, those couple of years. So they hired me as a copywriter to write articles and reviews. Thought I was going to go down that path, talk about meandering. I tried it. Wasn't the best fit for me. But from that little pivot, that led me into what was the bulk of my career that I think you've known me in: client-facing account management, partner management. Account management inside sales role with a massive portfolio of partners. I think we all had like 100 partners to manage. Really fun, really fast-paced dive into sales and account management work. That really got me that bug of learning how to do sales, knowing maybe I don't want to do inside sales and be doing cold calls all day, but client nurturing and growing and upselling a client and problem solving for them, gaining their trust. That whole piece of partner management really was a good fit for me. One of my little startups, I think it was 10 or 12 people, got acquired by Yahoo in 2011, 2012. That was very exciting to me. I'd always been at little startups. I'd never been anywhere big, like a big giant Yahoo household name company. So that was really fun. Scary, I mean, daunting if you've ever been in a small startup that's, on angel financing, and then you're going to try to get acquired by a big company. It's a long process and gives like a year of those discussions. And we were all hanging on nervously, kind of biting our nails, hoping that it goes through. When it went through, it was very exciting, to walk into the office of this big company and all these thousands of people was a huge change. And I got to say, though, not for everyone. I think a lot of the team were startup DNA. Some people are like, yeah, I don't know that I want to do this and be swallowed up by this big company. I was all for it because I was missing that piece of a big company on my resume. And I think was really hungry for learning all the things I learned from that big company, corporate, more structured environment, all the things. I joke that I was getting paid to like get an MBA is what it felt like. I was getting paid to learn everything I hadn't learned in my startup phase of my career.
That's got to be a massive change. I have some questions, but start by telling a little bit more about your time at Yahoo, because that was a big chunk of time as well.
Yeah. So I was there, I think about 11 years. And I always tell people it was such a wonderful time. I think anyone who's worked at Yahoo, which is a lot of people in the Bay Area, have gone through Yahoo at some point in their career. I mean, it's like a college network. It really is. It's a whole era of a lot of people in Silicon Valley's lives, and usually such a good one. I mean, it was an amazing place to land. It was an amazing opportunity for me. We had a good software platform that we built that I think Yahoo liked and wanted to integrate into their platform. And then we had some really good contracts. So I was already working with Sports Illustrated, Disney, and then really kind of focused in on partner management for a couple of years. I had worked with product teams, sort of being the voice of the customer, trying to think of what would the end users want, what would our clients want to see in the platform itself. I loved that role, working with product. Mm-hmm. That was super interesting. And then I also worked in the program management role as well. So I think it's so interesting to people is that even at a big company like Yahoo, where you think it might be you're put in a certain role and you stay there for a long time, that was not at all the experience I think that we had. There was so much internal movement at Yahoo. There's so many changes in the company strategy over the years that even within that long stint at one big company, I think a lot of us got to try various different roles year after year, which was very cool.
I think that's a really good point. As you talked about it, there's a couple of things that jump out on your career. I mean, it's taking advantage of the opportunities, putting yourself in line with who has the money, whether that's the loan office, as your dad recommended, or taking advantage of an opportunity that was extended when the VC banker said, give me a call, and you did. And then saying yes to opportunities and asking for opportunities, saying, hey, I want to try this other thing. I think those are all really good examples. Was any of that scary?
Yes, often. And it's so funny because I think back and I think I'm a very risk-averse person as well. If you say, do you like taking risks? Are you bold? I would say no about myself personally, which is funny. I can be very thoughtful and careful about decisions. But I started to see this pattern of like, you have to say yes when people offer you an opportunity. They don't always come again. So you should work hard. You should say yes when people extend an offer or say, would you like to try this? And that sounds really scary, but yes, probably a good idea for me. And like sort of this intrinsic desire to push myself, even though I was scared probably in most of those decisions.
On the point of success, what did you think success looked like early in your life, early in your career?
That's an interesting question. I grew up in Hawaii in a small town, which is very different from where I live now. My mom was a first grade teacher for many years. My dad was an irrigation salesman. They both worked really hard and they both made, I think, pretty modest salaries. I think that was something we knew as kids. I do remember as a kid, though, aspiring to be independent. I want to support myself. There was no path. There was no expectation of you should be this, you should achieve, but it was, we want you to do better than us. So like we did better than our parents. I think my mom probably would have loved me going into business and doing something so different than what she did. She always wanted me to be a very independent businesswoman, would have probably been her dream.
And she would have proudly talked about all the things you've done and all your accomplishments and been like everybody else's mom who has no idea what they are.
My dad to this day does not know what I do, and that's okay.
It is okay.
I say I work on a TV show. It's fine. I mean, just being independent. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? Financial freedom was the general goal.
I think that's a great way to describe it, and probably one that a lot of people would relate to as well.
Yeah.
Were there moments you realized the path you were on wasn't quite right or wasn't right for you?
Yes. I think a lot of my success has been in saying yes, or yes to opportunities, but also saying no to things that didn't feel right, like that didn't suit me, that didn't align with who I was. So I think there definitely were a couple. I wanted to try all these different careers and different paths. I think the accounting job was not a great fit for me, but it was such a great opportunity. And I was learning so much, but it was hard, right? It was not my natural aptitude. It was not for finance and numbers. Like I was terrible at math growing up. So it was good, like, eating your vegetables. It was something that was good for me. It was really good learning. Not something I enjoyed. I'm always grateful and so glad that I did it. I'm still good friends with the CFO from Quinn Street, actually. So it all leads to something.
So like listen to that intuition, but then once you have it, what's your first step from there? How did you go from there to switching to something that was maybe a better path or at least trying a different one?
Yeah. Really good question. I always was wanting to pay my rent and my college loans,
Yep.
and I was never going to just quit a job
Yep.
and
Yep.
and feel insecure. I always wanted to feel safe and have a plan. I'm an over planner. So mostly it was starting to think about what else is out there, talking to other people, networking always. It sounds so cliche, but just talking to other people about their industries, talking to friends that had very different jobs than I did at that phase and trying to understand what other things I thought I could do and doing that research, doing that pre-research. I remember looking sometimes when I wanted to pivot, just scouring the internet in the early LinkedIn days of what are all the other companies that are out there? What are companies and brands that I like and that I think I'm passionate about? I took a lot of interviews, I think at one point that I did not get, but they were companies that I really loved their product. And I would apply for jobs that I was underqualified for or overqualified for. I got a lot of no's for ones I was overqualified for, but I tried to tell them, I just love what you do. I love the product. I'm a consumer of it.
Yep.
And trying to just approach it from different angles and seeking advice from people older and wiser than me and asking them what they thought, how I could get somewhere else.
Thinking about what are products you love is such a good way to approach it as well. It's a really tangible starting point to also think about what else you might do and see the commonalities between things. So that's such a great approach. Did you ever feel pressure to stay? Did you ever think about a traditional or a linear path? You said your parents didn't necessarily have pressure there, but did you ever put it on yourself or did you have mentors that were like, you should really think about this specific thing?
Interestingly, no, not really. I put really immense pressure on myself. My pressure was you have to support yourself financially, in my 20s, and you're just barely making your rent. And I had massive college loans to pay off and all of that when you're young and you have your first real car and all those things. I never felt like traditional mattered to me. I didn't feel like I had to climb the ladder. I had to go in a certain succession or, well, I'm on this path, to your point. I started in accounting. That was an amazing opportunity. Should I have felt pressure to stay on that path since I was already on it? I didn't feel like that. I remember over all the years feeling very much okay with meandering and just going with the flow of what came next and just sort of taking advantage of what was in front of me at that time. And I think, especially when I was younger, even now, I don't think that far into the future. I think life is very uncertain. So I think I was more comfortable with that uncertainty too, of just, you don't know. And then what I'd gone through as a teenager and leaving my mom, I think I kind of always had this short term, like, just do what's in front of you now. The next thing will come.
Right.
The next thing will come. You will figure it out. You've survived. You've exceeded. You've done all these things already. You're probably going to be all right. Like maybe you won't, but I think you're going to figure it out. Just do the thing right now, the next logical step that makes sense. Otherwise, I think we get overwhelmed. I definitely get overwhelmed. I try to think. In an interview, someone asks you, what's your 5-year plan? Where are you going to be in 10 years? You don't know that at 26. I mean, I don't know that now, right? Like it's very aspirational, but I always felt more comfortable kind of taking things as they went.
So I want to talk about moments of change. You mentioned there's a few you may want to talk about, but like, what are different times where you had a pivot, you had a moment that led to a pivot? What were those like, and how did they go?
There are two that are more recent and I think more interesting. One of the best pivots of my career, about, I want to say 7 years ago now, at Yahoo, they had said, we want you to move into the BD team. We want you to be business development people. We want you to start negotiating contracts. And this is the need we have. We'd like to lift and shift you over to this. I was doing program management at the time. So I had found a really cool niche that I was doing that was very much running various programs in parallel. It sounds daunting, but the change from being a partner management person who's done that for many years to being a BD is not as big of a leap as it might sound. I said, I've never looked at a contract. I've never read I don't know the legalese. I don't know how to review a contract. I don't know that I have the negotiation skills for those big boardroom meetings with these very, very, very big clients, and higher stakes is kind of how it felt. It was very quick. It was like, you're changing roles tomorrow. But you know what? It was the best change that could have happened. Would I have gone and sought it out? I don't know. But I found all of a sudden it was like, oh gosh, this is what I should have been doing. This is just like the perfect fit for me. I loved it immediately. It was daunting. Learning the legal language was, something that I felt total imposter syndrome about. I'm not smart enough. I'm not smart enough to read this, understand it, sit here with all these lawyers and these executives and keep up was my initial fear. And that was the kind of the hard part was just, it was a learn as you go situation, which I think is very stress inducing, right? You're trying to fly the plane while you're building it. I'm trying to study at night and then turn around and be in a negotiation the next day and be doing red lines in the contract. But once I finally, Marco sat me down one day and said, the only piece that's missing is confidence. We were sitting in the break room and he was like, you've got this. I know you really well. I know you can do this. It is hard. It's a lot to learn, but you know enough. Just get that self-confidence and the rest will come. Believe that you can do this because I know you can do this. And It was like the most pivotal moment, I think, genuinely in my career, because at that moment I was like, all right, he trusts me. And he's like, I trust you. It's fine. You're going to make mistakes. It's fine. And it's so hard for me to think about making a mistake, which I think a lot of us that holds us back, right? The fear of not being perfect, the fear of maybe stumbling or doing something wrong. But being given that trust and that leeway of like, it's okay. Like, no one's going to die if you get this wrong. It's going to be fine. We'll figure this out. From that point on, I really did just take off. I think I learned really quickly from there on with sort of that pass of like, it's okay to learn this while you're doing it, and just dove into it wholeheartedly and really got into it and really loved it. Weirdly, I really, really loved the legal language now. Once you figure out the formula to it, it's something I find really fun. It was both a bold leap and a slow evolution at the same time into that role. And then the second big pivot I think we wanted to get into was after a wonderful time there at Yahoo doing a BD role, that I took this crazy big leap to leave Yahoo and come to BC Ventures, I think is what you wanted to drill in on.
Yeah. So at Yahoo, you went from a program management role into a BD role. So, working with basically product and business stakeholders into working with like legal and business stakeholders.
Yes.
And then you went to BC Ventures. So talk about that.
Yeah. Going to BC Ventures was fascinating. Marco had left Yahoo before me, sadly. I was still there in the BD team, but he had taken a very fun, exciting leap. He had left to pursue working with his husband on his business, BC Ventures. Marco went over there to take on the role of SVP of operations for BC Ventures. And he called me, 3 or 4 months in and said, I need you. We have so much incoming business. We have so many partnerships that we're trying to grow. Can you come over? Would you be interested in this role of leading corporate development? Which was in some ways a big departure, but some ways not at all. I feel like it was such a culmination of all the things, all of my experience put together into one role of doing business development, doing contracts, working with legal, running a partner management team, also doing project and program management and live events, all kinds of things that I had done, and regulatory licensing, which was very similar to some of the privacy work that I'd done. What was really different was it's in the gaming industry. I had been in ad tech, online marketing for 20-something years. I knew nothing about casino gaming. I said at the beginning, do I need to know how to play slot machines for this role? Because I do not know how to play slot machines. I don't know anything about gambling. So that was a big shift. And I think going from big company, big corporation for all those many years back to a teeny tiny startup of, I think they were 5 or 6 people at the time. That felt like a big leap to kind of go back to that small company world, and that pace of a small company that's building was a big thing to consider and a big decision to make. Similar work, but a very different industry.
Do you consider yourself a risk taker? I mean, what caused you to really take that leap?
Yeah. I mean, there were knowns and there were lots of unknowns, right? The known was Marco. I knew him. I trusted him. I knew Brian as a friend. I knew him socially. I'd never worked with him. So there was a known of that. There was a known of, I think I can do this job. Like I have the skills. I feel like I have the right pieces. It did feel risky to me to go back to a really small company. And I don't think I'm a risk taker, but I'm like a calculated risk taker. So I really did think about it as, I think I want to do this, but it's scary. So I think it was that familiar feeling of I want to do this. This sounds really fun. And it's with my favorite person to work with. It was just the fear of sort of getting off of the Yahoo comfort zone and trying something new and going into an industry where I didn't, necessarily know people or have a network in the gaming industry. It felt a little bit risky. I honestly, the way I deal with that is over prepare. I talked to my sister, an HR specialist. I chatted with her about it. Talked to my husband for many hours. I made pro con lists, made what if lists. I just wrote things down of, well, what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work out. YouTube shuts down their channel. I mean, it's riskier in that sense because of the industry itself of influencer marketing, and YouTube streaming is a really interesting industry, but it's very quick. Like it's very quick. It's a very fast moving thing. And they were just like a rocket ship at that moment. But you never know. There's a lot of unknowns in the social media world. Now, I know we're in an amazing place and there's no stopping us. But at the time, I didn't understand it as well and how the business model worked. But I really wanted to do it and it sounded so fun. So I kind of just worked through my pro con list and my risk list of what could happen and what's the worst that happens, what would I do? And I think the biggest fear I had was if I get off one track of ad tech, like this specialty that I'd now honed, would I ever be able to go back to where I came from? Or would I, have missed too much because the industry moves quickly? And I decided it was worth it.
Right.
It was worth the risk.
Well, yes. And it's 3 years later, it seems to be going very, very well. Like you said, there's no stopping you. So I think that's really good validation for your decision. And, honestly, sometimes these things don't work out and that doesn't mean the decision was bad either. But It's great to see that it is going as well as it is, which is just gangbusters.
I know.
Has your definition of success changed over time, growing up in Hawaii to starting your first job to now? Like, how do you think about it today?
Yes and no. I've been working really hard for a long time in various industries, and now success to me also sort of includes new pieces. I want to have time at home with my family, and I want to have different aspects of freedom and flexibility that are really important to me now as I think about longevity and not completely burning yourself out like we tend to do, I think, in our 20s and 30s and now in my 40s. And looking ahead, I'm trying to sort of pace myself, right? In a way that how do I do this job and work really, really hard and build something with this team I love and also not burn out and make sure that I can keep sustaining this is something that's more important to me now. And having time at home to recharge is part of success to me now, is being able to have that time.
Do you feel more aligned now?
I do. I definitely do. I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. That is a really good feeling. I think there's a lot of years of my career where I was never quite sure if I was where I was supposed to be, or was I good at what I was doing? Was it the right path for me? I feel, yes, very aligned now with exactly what I'm doing.
Building on that, you said you're in a place of clarity, but are you also in a season of change?
I think we're always in change. I feel like change is just constant, right? It's always something that's coming whether you want it or not. And the minute you make plans or you think things are constant, something will change. So I never get too comfortable. But yeah, I do feel a lot of clarity and a lot of peace with it, with where I'm at. And I'm so proud of what we're doing. I actually love my job now. That's an amazing thing to say, to wake up and be excited about doing your job every day is really, really wonderful. I think I'm starting to look forward to what's the next phase of my career, since it's always been meandering. I hope we're running this business and I'm doing exactly what I'm doing for many years to come. Yeah. And then someday, maybe slowing down, maybe slowing down, maybe retiring. I'm starting to dream about not sitting in front of a computer all day. That's my goal now, is thinking forward to moving back to Hawaii someday. Do we actually retire? My husband and I work really, really hard all day, every day. And maybe there is some third phase that looks different.
I look forward to talking to you at that point too.
Let's hope.
Let's say 2 last questions. So like 10 years ago, could you have imagined where you are today? And what advice do you have for someone at the edge of a career shift? So 10 years ago, could you imagine where you are today?
No, not really. It's funny. I think I could maybe, when I was being optimistic, hoped that I'd be at a VP level, like that. Maybe by this age, by this phase, that maybe I would have made it to VP was kind of my ultimate level I wanted to get to. Like check. So I'm like, I'm good. I don't aspire to anything higher. But enjoying it so much, working in the casino industry, enjoying it so much, and feeling so fulfilled by what we do in this creator world, and really being like in this entertainment sort of niche is I never would have expected, and I love it. So I'm very, very happily surprised with how it's panned out.
Nice. And what would your advice be to somebody on the edge of a career shift?
Yeah, and I've done a lot of them. So my advice is make a decision matrix. Like I get stuck in analysis paralysis, like just ruminating about something. Best advice I can make is to write down your decision matrix, like the yes, no, why not, pros and cons. What are your fears? Why am I afraid of this? What are my hopes? What excites me about this? I did a lot of that. Like, well, why am I intrigued by this? And asking myself questions of, do I want to do this and why? What do I really love? I think you taught me that years ago, really 10 years ago. You taught me a lot of writing down, like, what do you like? What are you liking right now? What are you not liking? What do you want to do? What do you not want to do anymore? Sort of what serves you or doesn't serve you very, very specifically. Do you like writing emails all day? Do you like being in person in client meetings? It's not anything lofty, just like very specifically, what do you want to do with your time during the day? And where do you want to sit while you're doing that? Go to sounding boards. Someone like Greg, you're always great at advice. People have really different biased and unbiased opinions. I mean, I talk to my husband about it a lot. He's a fantastic consulting party in my decisions. And my friend who's a school teacher and like very different point of view. I talk to her about a lot of decisions. Get other people's advice, but don't let it sway you. Yes. If they disagree with what you're considering, take in their advice and their concerns, add them to your pro-con list, and, really make the decision for yourself in the end is my advice.
I love that. I think that's a great place to leave it. Lindsay, such a great conversation. Thank you for sharing so much and being so open and vulnerable and just sharing your incredible career journey. And congratulations on all of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uncharted Paths is produced by Chelsea Strategies. If this conversation sparked something for you, please follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Greg McDonald, and if there's a story you think we should tell next, or someone whose path deserves to be explored, email podcasts@chelseastrategies.com.